Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my Yakuza 6 The Song of Life perspective. And the thing is, I'm showing the PS4 here. I played it on Xbox Series X. Good God. This was a mess. This is supposed to be the penultimate song for Kiryu to send him out to, and oh my god, there's so much weird shit that they do with this game that makes no sense. And then to have this be the send-off for Kiryu, now granted, the studio doesn't really leave that off. I mean, we're getting an in-between Kiryu series game between 6 and 7. After 6 to show what he was kind of doing to lead him into 7/8. It's an ungodly kind of mess. I mean, trying to move on from Kiryu as the Yakuza Like a Dragon protagonist is a bold move to do. That's if you actually fucking commit to the thing. That is for later and other games to kind of talk about and go through. But this does not fit that objective mission statement. This is not a good send-off for Kiryu. It is just the same kind of Yakuza mess that you get from the other ones, and just with kind of a less kind of coherent story, because it just goes fuck balls wild. Granted, Yakuza does go fuck balls wild a lot, but this just went to so many other levels that I'm like, what in the actual fuck? So, one of the big things is this was the first kind of test with actually using the Dragon Engine. And that actually showcases in some maps, like Kamurocho being completely different and blocked off with certain kind of construction things going on. And we see them utilizing the food system that I found kind of just completely why the fuck are we doing this in Kiwame 2? It's even fucking kind of worse in this one, because you get less experience points, and I'm I don't give a shit. I at least got Tiger Drop to at least get me out through certain kind of stuff. It follows the same kind of fighting kind of principles, and I'm okay, I kind of get the gameplay aspect. And since I pretty much played Kiwame 2 as a kind of fucked up better version of it, but it's the story and everything that kind of lays out with it that kind of gets to it. So we are coming off of what happened in Yakuza 5, where Haruka went fucking stupid. I was my father figure is a former Yakuza. The shit that ensues from this moment of stupidity just steamballs rolls into other kind of levels of stupidity. Because we see that they get Kiryu to a place, he's recuperating, but then the police are we've kind of sucked, and we've seen a lot of fucking Yakuza wars and stuff go on. How about we use this Kiryu guy as a scapegoat and put him in prison for 3 years? And Kiryu does it to try and wash the stink off of being a Yakuza. And I'm what? So that way he can be with the orphanage and with Haruka. And it's just oh, okay. Granted, it probably is more of a Japanese kind of culture kind of thing, with the stigmatization of the Yakuza and all that, and how that kind of stuff kind of follows you. Also the same stuff with the idol, and how being built up as an idol and then betraying your fans over certain kind of information. It's just what? So that kind of aspect probably kind of is what leads to this kind of disconnect. But I'm just alright, you kind of already went to prison. And the thing is, most of the times, if you just kind of even had Kiryu kind of explain most of the situations, it's these motherfuckers are doing stupid ass shit, and I literally have to be involved because everybody else is let's tango with the Dragon of Dojima, motherfucker, because I gotta fucking kill another legend to set up my legend. And I'm if you gotta do that, you kind of suck. You can do your own kind of legend shit. But I understand the kind of atonement thing. Haruka kind of visits him in prison, goes to the orphanage, and kind of goes with him for a little bit. But of course, her connection with being an idol and saying all the stuff that she did is affecting the orphans. And she's like, you know what? I'm just gonna leave and wait this shit out. It's like, oh, okay. Like, I don't feel that Haruka is really doing really much of anything until, like, she gets forced to do a lot of shit and she gets Daigo'd fucking immediately, as well as Daigo and Majima and Seijima being fucking Daigo'd as well. It's really kind of weird that you're trying to do a series, like, an installment that is, like, trying to celebrate the life of Kiryu and, like, give him a nice send-off, and you don't get Majima and Seijima and Daigo until the end of the game because they get fucking arrested because shit goes on in Kamurocho with the Sayo Triad and they're kind of war with the Tojo. It's like, bring them in. It's like, trumped up charges is like, you're trying to like handle this Yakuza and criminal underworld scenario and you fucking tip the balance of power to the fucking Triads. What the fuck do you think is gonna happen? So Kiryu doesn't know that she's left. He kind of gets out, goes to the Morning Glory, and everybody's like, "Yay, Uncle Kaz!" And he kind of gets to low down. Haruka left, and he's like, "Damn it, it's my fault because I was in the Yakuza." It's like, yeah, kind of, but most of the time, at least since 3, you've been trying to like do this kind of orphanage thing, and everybody else is just like, "I'm the Tojo clan, and I gotta blow up like right now because it's been a fucking year," and like. Fucking clockwork. Boom, 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 boom. I'm sorry. The story's the main kind of aspect that fucking kind of, like, gets me. So, he's trying to figure out where she's at. And he's like, alright, I guess I'll go and, like, look around Kamurocho. He tries to, he gets to Akiyama. Akiyama's the only one that, like, pops up again, and he's handled pretty well. I mean, he gets forced into a fucking Kiryu fight over a baby, but wouldn't be Yakuza without that stupid fucking shit. Because they gotta, like, fight to actually showcase their kind of beliefs, which I get to a certain extent, but there could have been a way to, like, get through that. But he's like, hey, do you know anything about Haruka? It's like, no, but then he, like, pretty much gets in contact with Date-san, and it's like, yeah, she was involved in a hit and run. And she's pretty much comatose for the majority of the game. It's like, alright, and oh yeah, she's got a fucking baby, Haruto. And they were gonna pretty much send Haruto into fucking child services, like, almost immediately. It's like, he's like the guardian of Haruka, like, I mean, shit, you could even just, like, pop him off at the orphanage that she was at, shit. But, of course, Kazuma, like, Kiryu's like, alright, that's it, I'm gonna take this baby, and Akiyama's had some pretty fucking crazy shit happening with him, where the Triad's coming after him for some fucking reason that's never really adequately dived into, but he's just like, Sky Finance is like down at the moment. He's shipped out his secretary to make sure she's safe, and he's just been bumming it around in like the sewers with the protection of the homeless people, which that's not a bad thing. It's just like, alright, there could be a better story here, but fucking whatever. And Kiryu's like, I'm gonna take this baby. And Shun's like, why don't we back off and kind of, like, do some kind of, like, rational kind of thinking here? Because the Child Protective Services dude's like, fuck it, I don't want to deal with this shit, ship it off. It's like, alright, asshole, fuck you. And they kind of, like, fight, and then he, like, goes. He figures out that she was in this Onamichi place. And he goes there with the baby, and you have to deal with the kid. And I don't mind trying to create gameplay around trying to deal with the kid. It's just like, alright, fine, whatever. So we essentially, well, the game pretty much started us off in Onamichi, but we essentially have almost a redo of what happens in Yakuza 3 with that family, with the Hirose family here, and he's trying to, like, gather information on Haruka, and it's kind of crazy because you'd think he would talk to the Force of Sai, but for some reason, he's not in here and doesn't give any fucking information. He's like, there's no, like, I don't know where the explanation is for, like, why didn't Kiryu just be like, hey, Florist, you got any information for me? And then do some kind of weird fucking stupid thing and be like, yeah, here you go. Now, granted, they have used him as a crutch to pretty much just like Deus Ex Machina, plot dump, motherfucker, plot dump. But this is a level of convoluted, like, he's just bucking around Onamichi, getting forced into fucking baseball leagues. So that way we can have that mini game. Sweet Jesus. That was fucking crazy to go through. I dodged some side quest at the end because I was like, fuck it, I don't want to fight him on. I don't care about that shit. Of course, I also did on normal because I can't be asked anymore. He goes to this woman, Kiyomi's bar, and she has the personality of, like, a roll of paper towels. Like, she is just bar woman and person to handle Haruto when the plot demands that Kiryu goes and does shit. Like, oh, and be used as damsel in distress for, like, another character. Because we see that Kiryu got out, he kind of looked at the Tojo. The Somea dude is kind of set up to be kind of like a next-gen version of Kiryu, though he's kind of more morally in the kind of blacker area of being an asshole and, like, abusing Kiyomi, because you find out later that Somea and Kiyomi were husband and wife, but they got divorced, and they have a daughter. Woo! And we see that this dude wants to be a Yakuza his own way, doesn't want to, like, do the tattoo. We see Kiryu fight him at one point. Well, not one point, a couple points. Though, granted, not to the extensiveness of the Kuze fights. Like, that was just the main fucking 1 and 0 that you fought as Kiryu. And I was like, sweet Jesus, I understand you're trying to narratively, like, I know, push it forward, but there's only so much you can do. Somea, it felt more like a building. I'll at least give it that. But it's just like, alright, fine, whatever. And that gets nutty towards the end. Oh my god. Fucking stupid as shit. And this Sugai dude is like the acting chairman since Daigo got arrested and everything. It's like, oh yeah, we're doing this our way, kind of like businessmen and all that. And there was a fire in Little Asia, but we don't know if anything happened to Tanamura or anything like that because, fuck those guys, right? I mean, I'm glad I got Akiyama. Out of all the ones, he could at least carry some kind of spin-off series, in my opinion, if you actually delved into his character and did some interesting kind of stuff. But it's like, hey, fuck these other guys, right? Stupid. So, we see that the whole kind of... Okay, how do I do this? So, he's trying to find out who Haruka's father is. And he's pretty much running around Onamichi. And the people don't talk to him about her because they've, like, tried to, like, protect her and everything. And you go through all this rigmarole to find out that this Yuta dude is the father. Now, granted, it takes them going back to Kamurocho to try and find a fucking host dude who has this, who's worked at Stardust, but Stardust is now under the Jingweon Mafia, the Korean Mafia, because they pretty much forced out Yuya and Kazuki. And that we've got Junji... fuck me. Jungi Han. Right? Let me see here. Yeah, Jungi Han. And at first he's like, yeah, alright, I'll tell you kind of stuff. But then he pretty much beats the shit out of Yuta. And then has a fight with Kiryu. But he has Kiryu. He's trying to pretty much revenge the Mafia on the Dragon of Dojima. But of course Kiryu beats his fucking ass. And then of course beats his ass again later on. But then somebody kills him. It's like, alright. And I'm like, I kind of like the 1 in 7 better than this dude anyway, so at least I kind of understand what's kind of going on with this. Oh, damn it. That's when Haruto pretty much gets kidnapped again. Well, not again, but like gets mainly kidnapped after a fucking toss the baby kind of shit. So Kiryu pretty much had linked up with the Hirose family, finds out that they knew him. The Yuta dude is the father, but it takes for fucking ever to kind of get to that. They kind of grow to like Kiryu and get the whole Aniki kind of situation going on. And you would first think that the Hirose patriarch's just this kind, lovable kind of dude, but you find out that he's a secret assassin for the Yomei Alliance, which has just been stuck in Hiroshima, and that Yomei Alliance is headed by, oh my god, Takaru Kurusu, real name of Heizo Iwami, and then he's got a son, Suneo, who wants to be leader of the Yomei Alliance and wants to be in the criminal underworld, even though his father is like, just be a respectable businessman. It's like, yeah! It's like, that pops up. Like, there's not enough character development for it. I wish Somea had been more built up as a next-gen trying to be kind of Kiryu, and then we see him doing kind of shady shit, but then Kiryu kind of gets involved. He's like, fuck this, and shows him a better way and actually transforms him. That would have been an interesting kind of send-off of, like, he battles him, and, like, Somea loses, but then Kiryu walks away and, like, shows him a kind of better way, and that would have, like, showcased a new kind of protagonist to take over. Otherwise, his, like, death and everything that kind of comes along with it is just... He's an interesting obstacle that Kiryu has to deal with in the story, but there's a lot of different kind of impacts that they could have done. Not that I hate Ichiban Kasuga. He's definitely an interesting kind of one, and one that I kind of link up with more than Kiryu. However, he is on a level of stupid that, like, makes me question his ability to utilize a spoon. Like, I like his big heart, and he doesn't have to be smart about everything, but goddamn. Now, I understand after watching One Piece the whole kind of Luffy inspiration for him, because Luffy's fucking stupid, but he at least shows moments of, like, learning and everything. So, we'll see how they handle Ichiban, but it's like, okay, we've got all this shit going on, and Iwami and Sugai are the ones that are built up as the asshole kind of villains at the end. It's like juggled to such a degree, it's like, let's see who the villain's going to be at the end. It's like, no, that's a stupid way to do it, because you get to the end and it's just fucking anticlimactic, and you're like, alright, Nerdy Glasses Man takes off and he's fucking buff as shit with this cool ass tat, so let's fucking fight him like we usually fucking do. Like, I don't mind having circles and repeating motifs and themes and everything like that, but it's like when it's the same fucking thing again and again with various little tweaks, it's just like, come on guys, you've done this before, do better. Because they're trying to find Haruto's father, they find Yuta, and then it's like, we find out that Yuta is actually the son of Bigelow, who is the leader of the Sayao Triad, who is linked up with the secret of Onomichi. And the secret of Onomichi is goddamn fucking stupid and really does nothing to really add with the plot other than to add more convoluted elements into it. Because we start off trying to find who is the father of Haruto, and then it's like, oh yeah, we go and we have to deal with these weird kind of Yakuza in Hiroshima. It's like, there's a secret in town, what the fuck's going on here? And it's linked up to the Triads, which has to be linked up to Haruto, and just keeps making it so much more messy to the point of like, oh yeah, these Triads have this whole blood kind of thing. And the thing is, Bigelow's big son, Jimmy, got killed. So Yuta would have to be brought in because of blood rights and everything. And that would also bring in Haruto. And the thing is that the Iwami dude wanted Bigelow to pretty much leave because he knew the secret of Onomichi, but he fucking didn't. And Hirose pretty much leaked this information for Yuta to go murder-suicide the motherfucker, but Kiryu stops and is like, dude, fucking, what the fuck's going on here? This is fucking stupid. And then they go and they find the secret of Onomichi, and they go through this convoluted thing, and we find out that it is a Yamada... No, not Yamada. A Yamato-class battleship, like a Mark II, that was being designed towards the end of the war, built with, like, this child labor of, like, kids from China who are, like, let me see what the term is. Because they were working with the, in Onomichi with the, shipping to do these Heizai human trafficking thing, which were like children that were beyond the one-child policy in China during that time period, and they utilized them to like build this thing. And then, of course, the war was pretty much over, so they pretty much just hit it. And then we had pretty much just like showcased it to the world. And the thing is, the Yomei Alliance head dude had this thing with this corrupt politician, Daidoji, who had pretty much been like embezzling funds and whatnot. And then he's just like, ah, shit. And the Iwami dude, like the old one, orders Hirose to kill like his family, and Kiryu is like, no, and then he gets shot and killed. And then Tsuneo pretty much kills his father under orders of Daidoji, and is told to also go after Kiryu. And like Haruka wakes up at that point because it's plot convenient. She's with Yuta and Haruto, and Kiryu writes a letter to Daigo saying that he pretty much felt he was like a son. It's like, okay, that's kind of weird. I kind of understand it, but you'd think he's writing it to like Haruka or whatnot. And he's trying to figure out a way to fucking get out of this situation, and pretty much is going after Tsuneo Iwami and Sugai. And so man, he goes to fucking do like the Millennium Tower again. It's pretty much just like 5 with Akiyama and the rest of the Hirose boys. And Kiryu starts using rocket launchers and killing people throughout this thing because, yeah, it's that gameplay disconnect that happens where it's like, Kiryu hasn't killed anybody, and even though he's like talking to people, it's like, I'm not a saint. It's like, in most main kind of scenarios, you really haven't killed anybody. However, outside of those scenarios, because we had to do stupid things that our gameplay demanded, you have killed fucking people with fucking rocket launchers and guns and every kind of which way kind of thing, and most likely have done it with objects as well. God, it's so weird. So he like got up to that point, trying to go after Sugoi, but he's fighting Somea, and Somea's trying to kill Kiryu because they have his wife, ex-wife, held hostage, and it's made to look like she is killed, and Somea tries to kill himself and pretty much succeeds to have that not happen. But we learn later on that for some reason the captain of the Yomei Alliance just had blanks in the gun. It's like, well, that's very fucking plot convenient. And she is reunited with her daughter later on. Nagamo, the pretty much captain of the Hirose boys, pretty much said that he would look after the daughter of Somea as a kind of final request. And they go, and we get this fight where it's pretty much Kiryu and Nagamo at first, before like Haruka and Yuta and Haruto are brought in as kind of hostages, but the other boys come in to be like, you stupid motherfuckers going after this. And it's kind of an alright fight. Kiryu gets really fucked up and shot, and you're like, oh no, he's dead again. Nah, motherfucker. Because we see that Daidoji dies, and some other politician tries to bribe him with money, and he's like, listen, that's not gonna work. And you would think that Kiryu would be like, I'm gonna burn this motherfucker down, all this institution, burn these motherfuckers, bring that shit to light. No, he just demands Daigo's release from imprisonment to prevent a war between the Tojo clan and the Yomei Alliance, and fakes his death so that Haruka and her family can live in peace. Which doesn't make any sense because they could still try and go after them as revenge because they were at least linked to the Dragon of Dojima. I try and understand Kiryu's decision on this part, and I get he's trying to like walk this kind of like samurai kind of path, but the Yakuza kind of stuff really just keeps fucking him over because they're keeping like, he's gotta protect the Tojo clan. No, he fucking doesn't. Just let him do stupid stuff and then help people out in his own way. Like, there are various different kind of ways that Kiryu could have like done kind of shit. Even ways that were put in to like stupid side games and things that could have worked out. Like, there's a lot of different things that they could have done for him to actively help people and change up these scenarios. But they're just stuck on it. It's like, yeah, he can't escape his past. The only thing he's got to do is like fake his death. And it's just like, oh god, really? And then we see Haruto pretty much walking. He looks in on the orphanage, but leaves them alone and disappears. And it's just then, of course, we get towards the end and we see Daigo reading off the whole letter that Kiryu wrote for him and continuing on that way. It's just such a mess. Like, the engine gets kind of funky with weird shit going on during cutscenes of, like, people not acting right, moving kind of strangely to animation. You can definitely tell it's the first kind of time because that stuff kind of gets ironed out in the later kind of Dragon Engine kind of ones, even though physics are still kind of fucking weird as shit. I'm playing Judgment right now, and, like, every time I run over a bicycle, I get shoot it up into the fucking sky, and people are looking at me like, what? And I'm like, I don't know, man. It's mainly the story here. Like, I don't know what they were trying to accomplish with what they did with Kiryu here. Like, it's unsatisfying. Like, if they wanted to do a kind of older, grizzled dude caring for a baby, like, Wolf and Cub kind of shit, that could have worked. If you had just kept it focused to that and him kind of detailing with that. Like, this series gets convoluted for no reason whatsoever. And you can tell that most of it comes out of, like, nowhere, that the people don't even really, like, I read somewhere that the writer's like, I didn't even know who the villain was until I, like, got to the end of the game. It gives me more surprise. It's like, yeah, but for a good plotting of a game, you have to understand where you're going, how to lead your readers there. Because, of course, if you're the reader, you don't know how it's going to end the first time. But you as the writer, you really do need to know who the villain is and who the antagonist is, because that informs how things play out. Because what this should have been would have probably been somebody trying, like, a better kind of setup would be a better executed Ryuji kind of scenario at this end, where somebody's trying to take over as the Dragon of Dojima or the next dragon or whatnot, and wants to end the kind of power that Kiryu's got. Even though it would make more sense to just let him live out his life in peace and then do your own kind of shit and set up your own legend that way. Unforgiving kind of stuff, even though, like, he's been, like, unforgiven, like, 30 fucking times already. God, it just was so weird and so strange, because how it's executed for Haruka just getting pregnant by this dude just to have this baby, to have this kind of crazy stuff, just feels like, oh, the plot demands that this shit happens. And that's my biggest kind of issue. This doesn't feel organic in what it's trying to accomplish. We need Kiryu to go to prison, so we come up with this bullshit excuse. So he goes to prison so that Haruka goes back to the orphanage, has to deal with the fallout of her shit, runs away, then gets pregnant, so we have to do this shit with this triad and be like, do. And then we eventually get to the end goal of, like, who this villain is now that we've got. Where you could have had so many different kind of things where, honestly, there could be a lot of different kind of ways that you could have, like, had Kiryu's endgame story. One possible way is that the rest of the Yakuza kind of worlds have a conclave or whatnot. Which would be pretty fucking big. Tojo. Omi Alliance. Yomei Alliance. All the different ones. And they're like, the legend of Kazuma Kiryu, of the Dragon of Dojima, is too powerful and too potent. How do we destroy this? And then you could either go after the guy, or you could be a multi-pronged attack where you take down the legend and everything as well. You seed false information, you see Kiryu having to deal with this stuff on the run, and then you got this, like, crescendo building as he's going through and taking out different kind of parts of the Yakuza world. And then he understands that the clan structure is broken and flawed, and instead he decides to take what he has learned from the Yakuza, from the orphanage, and creates his own organization to combat this. And that is his last and final kind of thing, where he's built this and everything, and he's bleeding and broken, and he's on down, and we see these people with all these different kind of tattoos and everything linked up to their various kind of philosophies. And now granted, I usually prefer the character to go off in the sunset and everything. So in my case scenario, that's gonna happen. Though granted, he could die here as well. But the biggest thing is, okay, I'd go with the no death route. That's me, where he would just go off and his legend is sealed, and because he has built this other organization, and we get these other people coming up, we get, of course, his old kind of standbys: Majima, Seijima, Tanamura, Shinada, Akiyama. But then we get other people that he has brought up. This was where you could see Ichiban and the rest of the group from like the 7th one, which we then shift over. Now granted, that's a little bit before and would consider to have some like story change ups, but the thing is, if we're building this organization and we're doing this, I want the handoff to actually come natural, where they're kind of gloating and everything, but then we see it is not just the Dragon of Dojima, it is not just Kazuma Kiryu, he is not just the legend himself, but also the people that he has helped and the people that he has inspired and what he has done to change the world and prove there are better ways. And that's when those guys pop in and completely take them out on their own kind of merits. We see one probably taken out because of information leak, one trying to go and deal a death blow, and Ichiban is the one that protects the dragon and shows him that he is ready to take on the burden of what it means to be the Dragon of Dojima, but yet be his own dragon, be his own person, and take what has come before and lead on. That is how I would have gone about this, not toss a baby like a motherfucking thing. And I understand it's just funny, but I'm just like, why am I fucking watching this and doing this? Why do we have this like secret kind of like battleship thing? It's like somebody was into World War II and just fucking put that shit in there. And I'm like, I understand World War II, trust me, I understand World War II's significance to Hiroshima and everything like that. I totally get that. But I'm just like, what does it add to the plot? It's just like, alright, this force is a politician, but it's just so random and out there that it's just like, you could have done this in so many other kind of ways. And it's just not narratively good to pay off. It's just, we get random shit going on almost, and you're just like, Haruka is just shittily handled. Like, they didn't know what the fuck to do with her, and they just put her in a coma and had her pop out a baby, and then having to deal with the consequences of that, and then just fucking sideline her. It was horrible, because you could have dealt with her fallout of being an idol, of the darker sides of fame and everything like that. Well, you get the double coin of that, of like Haruka and Kazuma Kiryu, because of his darker reputation within the Yakuza world constantly affecting him and everything like that. God, I know I feel kind of rambly on this, but it was a poorly paced, poorly executed finale for Kiryu that he had deserved better. Now, granted, does that mean that I think that if you like it, you're bad? No, I'm glad that you like it. If you got good out of this and felt the impact of Kiryu kind of going off, I'm happy for you. I don't want to take that away from you. Whenever I do these perspectives and reviews, I know I kind of harp on this, but I want to make sure that I don't want to make you feel bad for liking this and getting enjoyment out of it and getting positive things from it. I love that, and I'm glad you're able to get that. That's cool, and I never want to take that from people. It's just there are things in this game that like hamper that for me, and I don't get those things, and it sucks. And there's so many different, because the potential of the awesomeness that Kiryu could do, and Ichiban, and the rest of the Yakuza world, I can see the potential. And having played through the games, they sit on a lot of their tropes and do a lot of the same stuff over and over, and they're better than that. At least in my opinion, I'm like, you can do really good games, and there's a lot of solid kind of things here. Better integration and everything that you can do. And it's just, it never works for me. It never hits for me. I understand that when I'm pretty much going to be finished with talking through this series, that it really isn't for me. And that doesn't mean it's bad, okay? Like, there's just design decisions and story beats and ways that stories and characters are executed that I'm just like, wow. Okay. Man, this was like 3. I put this on par with 3 mainly because of not during gameplay action. Okay, the blocking of 3 trumps that. All right, but this was billed as like the conclusion of Kiryu's saga, and I put that more in the studio for not being able to actually execute with that and stick with that. Granted, there are other series that have done the same kind of thing, such as like Halo and whatnot, and I understand you have a franchise thing, and you're like, hey, this is pretty much the mascot. Kazuma Kiryu is pretty much the mascot. Now, granted, I think that Ichiban is pretty much being propped up as a worthy kind of successor, so we'll see how that kind of goes. But that's only if they let Ichiban do it and don't do, hey, here's another Kiryu game. Hey, here's Kiryu pretty much taking at least maybe half of 8. That's speculation on my part. I'm not saying that they are doing that. I don't know what they are doing with that. And it's just like, oh, okay. Don't hamstring Ichiban if you're going to make him the one going forward. Make him the one going forward, and then you can just do fuck off things and like do Kiryu kind of spin-offs. You're doing it with Judgment. Until we figure out what's going on with the ramifications of that main character, actor. Though, I understand, it's mainly detailing stuff with like the PC kind of stuff and mods and everything that can go on with that. And I'm like, I gotta get that. But that's neither here nor there. The story in this and how I interacted with the gameplay is why I kind of put it on par with 3. But I would probably edge it out. No, 3 still edges it out because the gameplay of blocking and detailing the stuff was just horrendous in 3. I would still pretty much put 3 on like the prime example of don't you fucking do this to me. And then this one was really fucking close, mainly because of everything in the story, but like gameplay wise I could actually get through it without too much complete frustration, like with the blocking in 3. I'm trying to like get its kind of placement and everything. Like the story and characters and all the scenarios just didn't do it for me, and I could totally understand why people were disappointed with this. And yeah. So next up, I will be doing 7. I just have to figure out my thoughts and everything on that one. I won't be doing a replay on that one because I've got pretty much my understanding. The thing is, I was like, hey, if they dial, like, at first, my ideas on 7 was like, okay, worthy enough on the turn-based kind of part. Now, granted, I'll go in more in depth when I, like, talk about it. But as long as they kind of equal out the grind better, it should work out. But the thing is, I've played through pretty much, okay, including 0, 7 of these so far. That one would be 8, which I did play anyway, and they do not understand grind very well, so it does not give me hope. Like, hopefully they tweak it enough, but we'll kind of have to see, even if I want to kind of play it. Like, if it's on Game Pass again, I might give it a shot just for shits and giggles. Because I at least enjoyed more of the stuff doing the turn-based more than the brawler. Because they don't do enough with the brawler kind of components, in my opinion, evolution-wise, between games to do certain kind of things to make it better. But, yeah, this one was just another one in the Yakuza series that went nuttier for me because of how the story went and how it really didn't send off Kiryu very well. So those are my opinions on the game. That's my perspective. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.